Rob, when you're building a grip, obviously we ideally want it to be neutral, which will give us the best chance to have a square club face throughout the backswing, giving us the best chance at impact to return it square. What are the other grips that we often see when we're coaching? I mean, I would say we see variations of how you hold it, but certainly there's an air on the side of strong sometimes, and also the other way where the grip is a little bit weaker. Just talk me through.
Yeah, people fall into really either one or the other.
Yeah.
You have people that generally grip it too strong in a right hand. So either by not paying attention to the club face in the first place and just building a grip that kind of feels good, that's interlocking or overlapping, and then ending up kind of just twisting and pushing the handle forwards to square the club face up. The easiest way to build a bad grip and a strong grip is by having the shaft leaning too far forwards, because the hands just come in that way. So now you end up with a what looks like a square club face at address, but you've had to push this forwards to do it.
Yeah.
So if we bring that back to straight, the reality is that's where the club
you
face
can
is
see
aligned.
that. You can see what that does to the face angle.
Yeah.
To make that look somewhere near square, obviously you're gonna have to push your hands
You've got to push it forwards. It's quite hard to return the hands a long way forwards at impact, and especially when you've got lower lofted clubs, you don't want to do that because it takes the potential height off the shot. So that's one that you really see, and even when they've managed to get the shaft lined up properly, the right hand grip will can still be very often really strong.
Yeah.
Now that then makes it very difficult to get the correct club face position going back.
Yeah.
You generally see that hooded there, pointing to the ground too much. Quite often it's inside as well at that point because of the right hand position. Then you end up with, if it gets really severe, you end up with a really short backswing. It's hard to go
there, can you?
because the hands get sort of twisted into this position. It's hard to get past there.
And you kind of feel like the wrist angles are kind of locked. So that kind of, now you've got a short backswing, you've got a very strong club face. I think naturally you're now trying to get the ball airborne.
Yeah.
So this is when you're going to start to make compensations coming into the ball to try and get the ball up in the air. It's kind of all right, like you said, with a shorter iron, you don't really feel like you're trying to help it because the ball has some launch, has some height. But if you get anything, up the top end of the bag, then it really is difficult to see any ball flight.
Yeah, a common actual complaint in lessons and people trying to get better is that they will admit that they hit their short irons and medium irons well enough and quite long, but they don't gain then the progression through their set to hit the long irons and 3-woods and drivers relatively that much further.
Yeah.
You're de-lofting your short irons and mid irons, and all the clubs tend to then go a very, very similar distance, and it all stems from a bad grip. So on the other side of that, we end up with pretty much the slicer's grip, which is sort of a weakish left hand, but a pretty, either a very weak right that fits on top of the left hand properly, but the left hand's in the wrong place, or you end up with very weak left, kind of a palmy looking right hand grip. Then you don't get the right range of motion in your wrist through the swing. And this left hand will always want to bring this club face back into that position at impact. So the face is open, the ball will want to start right, and then you start adjusting your downswing path to try and project the ball straight, but it just makes the slice worse.
Often I see with a weaker grip, the impact position from face on, the hands are often back.
It has to be then to try and get this face back to square, doesn't it? Because if you've got a grip that wants to bring it like that, but now I push the hands back a bit, it kind of squares it up a little, but you add loads of loft, so you might get a decent straight shot, but you'll be the opposite of the strong grip player that's hitting his short irons low and far. Everything will just have a weak sort of lofted flight to it.
Yeah, and then you put a bit of wind into that, and I mean, really ineffective into the wind.
So you may have a reasonable amount of club head speed, but you're actually applying it to the ball poorly and inefficiently. Again, through a grip. So
and I think it all leads back to the importance of how you put the hands on the club. Influences how you deliver the club at impact.
It's going to have its knock-on effect throughout the different stages of the swing. So your grip does have to be within certain boundaries. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, does it? Because we see all the pros on different tours, they don't all have one grip, but it's They're very, very similar.
It's going to give you the best chance. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, there are always outliers, like you say, but to give you the best chance of returning that club head back to the ball, compressing your irons with a square club face,
Yeah.
which is really important. You know, having an assistance, you know, like a raised ridge here is also, you know, a way of feeling that.
Yeah.
So with a neutral grip, at setup, face angle square, grip is neutral, you just feel it gives you a chance, or it gives the player a chance to have a neutral face angle, first part of the backswing, important top of the backswing, that the face is feeling neutral. But not only that, it's just knowing where the face is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whether it's strong, open, or in this case neutral, you just want to feel that you know where the club face is. That feel in your hands of, you know, you don't have long when it's up there, but just a feel in your hands and your fingers where the club face is, you know, coming down into impact. So if you show me your neutral grip and what it kind of the benefits of that throughout the golf swing.
Right, so the whole point of building a somewhat neutral grip, with the only tolerances we're allowing ourselves really is for what launch monitors and stuff have shown us lately, is that we've only got a fine margin of a degree or two in the tolerance between the face and the club path to hit reliable shots, right? So now a club face alignment of a degree or two it's barely noticeable. It's that minute. So we have to be really precise. And the grips that we went through with the strong and the weak, I mean, they are more than 1 or 2 degrees rotated either way. So a tiny movement in the hands being a little bit this way and a little bit that way, that will give us this variation in the club face if we're not playing a lot. So the point of a neutral grip is to get us back into this zone coming into impact where the face isn't that far off, and it will come in without drastic need for a change of the face alignment to hit a good shot. So obviously if we're coming in like that, that's more likely to want to bring the face in closed and twisted to the left. If we're really open, I've got a lot of work to do, and that's more than 1 or 2 degrees pointing to the right. So the point of building a neutral grip and getting feel for the club face, so that when we go through the takeaway zone, the club face hasn't rotated an awful lot. And then as we get to the top, that's a pretty neutral position at the top with a relatively flat left wrist and the right wrist being folded slightly backwards and under, with the club sitting on that knuckle of the right hand, and you see the relative position of the club face there.
Certainly if you neutral grip at address, it certainly helps to keep this left wrist and forearm flat, which in turn you know that the face angle is going to be pretty much within that tolerance of being square.
And then a tiny bit open would be there,
Yeah.
and a tiny bit shut is there, but we're not thinking, right, that's okay as well,
Yeah.
and neither is that.
Yeah.
Right, that's way more than the couple of degrees we're talking about. So something around this shape gives us a nice neutral position. Then on the way down, we can bring it back to a similar club face location to we had in the takeaway. As the body keeps moving, now we've got a club face that is approaching square.
Yeah.
And then through impact, we're wanting minimal club face rotation as well. And the body can control a bit more of the release rather than the hands trying to fix a faulty club face position. So the whole point of that is to secure the club face within its tolerance of a small amount of error, open or closed, and then we use the body position and body turn to dominate most of the swing to make our technique more reliable.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something.
For more videos like this, head to the Golf Pride channels.